Hi everyone, my name is Anto Philip and I'm the co-founder of Under 25. I've been an entrepreneur for the past 12 years approximately. I started right out of college. And being a young entrepreneur, being a student entrepreneur, I think one of the biggest things that I think that would be great to be taught within entrepreneurship in colleges is definitely, I think, more than anything else, the basics. There's a lot of stuff about like how to be an entrepreneur, what are the tips, tricks, and all of that stuff on the internet, and YouTube probably does solve that problem. But I think what we need to help the students with should be for them to get the access to information that they otherwise don't have, which is stuff like the legal aspects, the accounting aspects, how to register your company. What are the things to do to find a co-founder? Or when you find a co-founder, how do you create a contract between the two of you that can stand the test of time? What's the basic, what's a paid up capital? The basic stuff that, just about a couple of weeks back, a horde of about 10 to 12 entrepreneurs reached out to me saying, "And how do we register a company?" So registering a company, the first, 6 months of operating a company, the challenges that you face both legally, financially, the kind of tax implications you have as an entrepreneur, that technical stuff is very important. So I think if that's what college can provide me with, or if a class can provide me with, and of course back me up with enough resource to do that, I think I'd be really grateful. And I think that's what should be included for students in classroom.
Hello everyone, I'm Ani Vinod Manjula. I did my BCom at Christ University between 2014 and 2017. With the foundation that Christ helped me build, I went on to do my master's in London School of Economics, focusing on finance and private equity. Worked in between with the UN for some time doing research, Ernst & Young, focusing on strategy and transaction advisory. Went on to do my MBA at Saïd Business School, University of Oxford. Worked with BCG in strategy consulting post that, and now moved back to my family business, which is a brand called Double Horse, focusing on ready to cook and ready to eat products for South Indian cooking. Move is relatively new. Entrepreneurship has played out in various forms in the multiple places I've been in. So at LSE, the most exciting part was that we had cases which were Harvard Business School case study classes where the protagonist from the story would come and explain the story to us. And it was a great experience hearing it from the horse's mouth. And of course, as with all case study modules, the professor was more of a facilitator, nudging the conversation with perspectives from the class largely. At Oxford, we saw it play out in multiple forms. One was that there's a group within the university called Oxford Consulting Group, which is a student-led pro bono consulting consortium, which would take on small cases. So I was a consultant with them. We had cases from small and mid-sized companies. One exciting case was a chocolate company getting a go-to-market strategy for a new vertical of theirs, etc. We also had an entrepreneurship project for our cohort as part of the MBA curriculum, where we were divided into groups working on projects, making the B plan. And in that, many people came with their own startup stories or with an idea that they wanted to find a co-founder for, which they were successful in. So that would be at Oxford. And coming to the food business now, Manila's, what I see is that there were 3 elements that I did not think were key to entrepreneurship earlier, but I think are very important now. One is building the risk appetite. I'm not sure what activities will foster the building of risk appetite is, but that was something that I thought hit me quite a lot coming to the family business, and I really wish I had trained my muscle for the same. The second is the energy of any organization is almost equal to the energy of the entrepreneurs that power it, right? This could be by way of how the culture is built or how aggressive the company wants to grow. So how to keep the free flow of energy and how to ensure that you are supplying the right energy and keeping it at the level you want. And of course, thirdly would be financial discipline. From what are the best ways to analyze a P&L, to what are the live control measures than retrospective ones that you may have, to how do you set the guardrails in place. And of course, today being the world of AI, how can you best leverage business solutions by way of technology and AI to get things done faster and more efficiently within your business. And I recall Sam Altman's quote that going forward, there could be a one-person unicorn where it's just one employee and everything else is AI powered, building a billion-dollar company. So these were just few thoughts I had on entrepreneurship. And of course, I am a big Shark Tank junkie. I love watching Shark Tank, love analyzing the business models. I think it's great to listen to podcasts. A few that come to mind would be the Think School podcast or the Shantanu Deshpande Bombay Shaving Company podcast, Nital Kamath podcast. So those really give you quite an interesting take on entrepreneurship and the real world applications of the same. Just two quick points that again come to my mind that I encountered at Oxford. One was something called an ideation lab, where people who wanted to start working on an idea would come to either soundboard their ideas, or even how do you go about the ideation process and get some additional perspectives. How do you defend your idea to people? What are maybe a direction you can pivot into? That was done. It was called an ideation lab. It was like a 3-month program that was run. And also we had something called the global rules of the game. So this was very interesting. This was a half module which touched upon not lobbying per se. So what are some of the gray areas that you could encounter in business and how do you approach them? Because the reality of the world is that you will be exposed to these things in some form or the other. What is the mindset you need to have while you're approaching them? How do you take a decision in such a scenario? So that was called Global Rules of the Game, which dealt with some interesting cases as well. And of course, how to negotiate best, how to analyze your partner in any situation. And other than that, I think mentorship also works very well for entrepreneurship. So how do you facilitate a mentor network? Or for people who are looking for a mentor, is there anything that the university can do to maybe leverage its alumni base to provide the same, etc. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Rishabh. I'm an ex-Christite. The word entrepreneurship was actually taught to me during Christ University, the first day of college, where Rishikesh sir came and he gave us a brief about what entrepreneurship is. And coming from a small town like Jamshedpur, the word entrepreneurship was very novel to me, and we were given a task to research about big entrepreneurs all across the world and give a speech in the class itself of how entrepreneurship works. And that's when I got exposed to Karsan Bhai Patel and how he founded Nirma and stuff like that. So definitely the word entrepreneurship really came to me when I met Rishikesh and he was giving me a brief about it. That said, I think college it's very important that we give an exposure of how the whole world works. I have prepared a few pointers that can be used to give knowledge to people when they are doing studies in Christ. I think the first thing that we should do is we should have an IP called Founders Friday, or let's say it can be a bi-weekly IP, or it can be a fortnight IP. What can happen here is we can have founders coming into college, and the founders can give a brief about how the business works, how their business has scaled, what they have done, and stuff like that. It can be a podcast based IP. You must have seen Scoop Whoop and other brands doing town hall, where the team members are standing and then the videos are being shot and there's an interviewer who's interviewing it. So it is a live content as well as a complete visual around it. So what happens, people get engaged to it and they get inspired by the content. Founders can share real stories and people will get exposed to real life businesses. And then it's very important, because when we are in college we feel that things are very difficult to do, and when obviously entrepreneurship is difficult, but if someone can come and tell how they have built a business, what they have done, how they have fought a problem, so it gives them a very first-hand exposure to things. Generally you must see all of these things on YouTube and other things, but when you get exposed to something on a real life scenario in your college environment, when a founder is coming and there is a session happening, it can be an informal session. I have attached a link and send a link to sir on how it can be done. It will be very creative for people to learn from it. I think the second thing we can do is, assignments are very boring, frankly. Turning an assignment or turning a semester to a complete task in itself, creating groups of students. Every student is exposed to small businesses, right? They are living in, let's say, SG Palya, Chikle and all these places. There are so many small businesses like PGs, Iron Wala, small food shop, chai shop and stuff like that. give them a real task. 7-8 लोगों की team can completely work on a particular shop or a business. They have to market that shop, they have to get exposed to that shop, make sure they understand their business and grow their business. So they will get like a 3 months or a 1 month, 1 to 3 months ka schedule can be there depending on what kind of work that we are giving it to them. But they have to grow that business completely. They can market that business, they can put their business on social media, they can name that business and stuff like that. I'm sure these shops, these small companies will definitely allow them to do something like this, because students are going to put effort to build this. What will happen, they will get exposed to a real life business, real life problem, and they will be able to grow. At the end of the month, they need to present a report of what they did and how they grew their business. It could be doing marketing, it could be doing operational level changes and stuff like that. But what will happen, they will be able to really grow a business, and they will be able to completely get exposed to something like this. Communication is king, right? And people who don't know how to communicate or they don't know how to sell, they will never be able to do entrepreneurship. वो कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे लाइफ में. Frankly, selling is a very critical life skill that people should learn, because ultimately if you're an engineer, doctor, whatever you are, you need to know how to communicate and you need to know how to sell. So giving a task where social media is a very good exposure point. So if we give a task to students where they have to create videos and they need to get likes, shares and subscriptions to that particular page, at the end of the month or end of, let's say, particular 15 days of time, they need to get the highest like and views and things like that. And according to the groups, the highest liked video can get the highest marks, and then accordingly the communication can be done. What will happen with that, because social media is going to be very critical in future growth of businesses. So if as college, if we ask people to put a video out on social media and they need to get the highest views and videos, shares and stuff like that, this will completely blow their mind. They will have to think accordingly, what will people like. So this will ultimately expose them to getting like videos, views and subscriptions. This will help them in future business endeavors also.
Hi, I'm Anna and I'm an alumni, and I'm currently working on startup Sunbird and UBT along with Professor Sajeev Agasar. So I wanted to share some of my reflections on how I wish our entrepreneurial curriculum was while I was a student here. Looking back, if I think about the curriculum, the major focus or the idea of the whole entrepreneurial class was focused on creating a business plan. But I think there were two main problems that I would like to focus upon that I personally felt. One was having no to little interaction to a real industry to understand the real problems. A lot of the time when a business plan was put forward to, it was about creating a business idea of a completely a non-problem or a problem that you're just familiar through internet and absolutely no first-hand experience on. And I think that really reduces on the quality of a business solution that you can come up with. Personally for me, I had this business idea and I was able to dig a lot more into creating a solution to it, simply because I had a first-hand opportunity to be associated with the industry. And I don't think that's the case while we are doing this study in a class. So I think students should receive that first-hand experience to understand what the problem is. Only then they could actually come up with real-life solutions. A simple way that this could be incorporated to the curriculum would honestly be including projects where instead of just pitching a business idea, students could actually work with local businesses that is in and around the campus or any local businesses and understand what their real struggles are and then implementing an effective solution to it. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I was actually having an interaction with one of the a small restaurant owner, next to the back gate, and just a 10 to 20 minutes of conversation, listening to his problems gave me insights into practical solution that could genuinely help these businesses. And we learning an entrepreneurial subject, we should be able to give out something back. And I think this is a really easy and a simple way to have a direct association to an industry to understand the problems firsthand and then actually come up with real hand solutions to it. Now, the second problem that I faced was considering that we are in a bubble, that we are very unfamiliar with on what industries are like, or we have never really worked on really executing a project. Once you have a business plan ready, you do not know what to do forward with it. And if the study could focus on structuring the classes into workshop models where each modules focus on actually taking the business forward, it could even be implemented with tie-ups with the incubation centers to actually executing the plan. Because I believe a lot of time we are in this bubble and we're just very afraid to take anything forward. I experienced the same thing while I had my business idea. I was very unsure on how to take it forward, or should I take it forward. So if the subject could help students to take forward their business ideas with the help of the curriculum built there, it could be one of the biggest help that can be done to the subject.
Hello everyone, I am Srishav Patru. Just a quick introduction. I completed my graduation from Christ in 2024 from BCom Honors. I am a budding entrepreneur and a marketer. To give you an overview, I started my own company called as DigiMuse, which is now a private limited company, and we handle end-to-end marketing services across all the marketing verticals for clients across India, UAE and Europe. So we help them with social media marketing, paid marketing, performance marketing, branding, as well as marketing consultancy for HNIs and UHNIs led businesses. So that is something what we do. Now, coming to the point of how we can actually incorporate entrepreneurship development into a curriculum in a much better way. So being someone who started his business alongside college, I do feel really connected to this topic as well, because I started and registered my company in my final year. I was lucky enough to get the right set of mentors, Rishikesh sir, Deep Jyoti sir, who helped me and guided me along with my journey from ideation to actually making this into reality, which I'm grateful for. But I think the major part where we miss in college in terms of teaching entrepreneurship is how to start a business. Now, as of today, what we are taught is how do you actually run a startup, or the terminologies which are required once you start doing a startup. But to go there, how do you actually start one, right? So that is something which is not really taught as of today, or at least when I was there. So there are a lot of requirements, whether that be legal or regulatory, which goes within starting a startup or registering your company, right? So some sort of guidance over there, I think, would really help students who are really keen towards starting their own businesses. Another major factor which I think can be incorporated is to actually make it mandatory for at least, let's say, entrepreneurship development elective students to fix it on an idea and start their businesses, whether they can start it through a sole proprietor as well, which does not require that much of litigation as a private limited organization. So it's a good start for them. So that can be another way of looking into it. Plus, I feel there should be some leniency from the college also in terms of, let's say, the internship which you guys are doing, right? So we were asked to do a mandatory internship in the second year, and we were told that extensions would only be given for those students who are pursuing their internship, whether in an MNC or a Fortune 500 company. But if we try to promote this from the early years in the college, hey, it's okay if you go and do your internship in a startup, just learn the culture over there, who's someone who's really passionate about it to know the hustle culture. I think that should also be something which we can look towards. Plus, there are certain areas in college, like the CUCA used to have entrepreneurship development as one of the events back then when I joined as a fresher in my first year. Now I think it's discontinued, but that was really helpful. That actually helped me to build an idea about how do you run a business, what are the different components which involves in a business. Although it was at a very base level, but it definitely set a good benchmark for me, at least to start off with. So I think that is something which we can get back or look into in a much more better manner. And definitely the entrepreneurship cell in the Department of College, which is there. But I think just the approachability of the cell can help a lot more students to get there. So having special sessions from the cell, which was lacking when I was there, would just help you to understand this journey better. Plus, also what I felt is like during my college time, when a student tries to start his business or startup from the early stage in second year or third year, the intent behind that is like, hey, if I don't want to sit for my placements in my third year, I need to have something at least to show back to my parents. So just the thought of it is what I think teachers could support a lot better, because I was I was given that liberty by a lot of my teachers and course mentors, but I won't take names, but there were a few teachers who were very hesitant of me actually working during the college hours. So I understand that is not ideal, but at least for someone who is actually able to give actual proof that, hey, I'm not wasting my time, but I'm actually working into something, some leniency can be there. Because again, it is the only time where students have the ability to think and to fail or to probably pivot while getting the required mentorship from their educators or the teachers. I was very lucky enough to get the educators, I would say that once more, because I really was. But I don't think a lot of students get that opportunity. So the openness, the leniency over there, the internship being much more open for students to pursue in a startup, then actually having a scenario of teaching how do you start a startup rather than how do you run a startup would actually make a lot of difference. And yeah, I think that is something which we could implement, and just being there for the students, to be honest. So when even I started off with my company, I was a lot in a double mind situation, whether I should start a business or not, if I'll be able to carry it forward or not, is this the right thing for me. Even when we get the placement form, there is an option to set yes or no for placements. So that is a big challenge for students like me. Hey, what should we do? So just some internship, just some guidance, and just some free leniency over there would help entrepreneurs trying to build up from college a lot more.
Hello, my name is Meghna Jain. I am the founder at Dream a Dozen, which evolved from a startup that I began in college nearly 10 years ago called the Cupcake Booth. Sir asked me for a few ideas that we can inculcate within the classroom or outside the classroom, and I've just written a few points here. One of the things that I want to start with is something that I was inspired by from an entrepreneur called Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx. And she said that her father used to sit with them at the dining table every single night and ask her and her brother what they failed at today. And she was like, because entrepreneurship is a series of failures, ultimately she didn't take failure as something that they were supposed to be ashamed of, because when her father would ask what they failed at and they didn't have an answer, he would actually be disappointed. So taking from that, we can take an idea in the classroom where every day they are asked to think of something, students are asked to think of something that they failed at, because ultimately failure only comes when you are in your stretch zone, you are not in your comfort zone and you're trying something new. And then children are picked at random. Every day, 2 minutes, somebody comes forward and says, hey, I tried this new thing and I failed at it. And then it's applauded. That will really change the mindset towards failure. The other thing is that I know there are mandatory internships in finance or in large companies. I think that there should be some flexibility in the rules, that they should be allowed to work in startups. I have seen more times than not that startups give them more hands-on experience, more responsibility than even a large Big Four can give them. I think that Christ has a lot of great things like guest lectures, CIs where they have to interview entrepreneurs, Udan, eCell, B plans, but ultimately at the end of the day, the thing that everybody is most proud of, whether it's the teachers, parents, students, is who got the biggest package in the biggest company. That is the thing that is glorified, rather than if a person joined a startup, that's not something that's really talked about. If they joined a startup, or if they started their own business, or if they joined their family business again, I think that should be treated with equal pride, honor and respect as joining any large company. I think that most people actually come from small and medium-sized business families, and somehow in the media we've looked at the likes of Zepto and Amazon and Facebook as the next big thing, and that is the meaning of entrepreneurship. But on the ground level, every family business, a sari shop owner or a grocery shop owner or a food business, at the end of the day, all of them are entrepreneurs, and they should feel proud of the background that they come from. They should want to talk about the challenges that maybe their parents faced or their grandparents faced. Maybe they can go home, they can be given an assignment in the Dashara vacation or any break where whoever's from their hometown, they all come together, they come to their family, take an interview, make a vlog style, sit at the counter, interact with customers, and really get a feel of what entrepreneurship is, what selling is. Another thing that we can do is that these things are often rewarded in the terms of marks through CIAs and things, but instead of doing marks, maybe every semester there can be a small award, a startup queen, startup king kind of award to really small businesses that people might be doing from home. It can be something like a soap business that someone has started, or an accessories or a food business that the students themselves are doing from their own hostel or from their homes, and they can be given that award. They can be asked to come and present it to everyone. The teachers should ask everyone to follow them on Instagram, share their stories of their first order, biggest order, really applaud it in front of everyone. Because if we have an award like that, then even the parents, if they have a little trophy, then it will go on their family groups. It will be something that they are proud of, more than an addition to the marks in the CIAs that, there are already so many of those. I think that everybody should be encouraged. I don't know how the logistics of this would be, but there are so many small businesses in campus, like the stationery shop, Xerox shop, so many small cafeterias. And if every student can get an opportunity to sit at one of those for a day, maybe be the cashier, the Xerox person, whatever, and see how things are done on ground, that would really bring a lot of humility to the person that is required in entrepreneurship. And I think to end, what I want to say is that one of the things that I remember and that has come back after so many years of graduating from college, nearly 9 years of graduating, is that at that time I used to keep stalls and I had printed business cards for myself. I used to sell cupcakes, and I would give those business cards with a lot of pride. It was part of my identity to everyone around me and my classmates. And today, so many of those classmates, they write back because they found that business card in some old wallet that they had. And they say that, I found this and I'm so proud of what you're doing now. I think giving something as simple as a business card as a 17, 18-year-old, it's a translation of creating an identity, and the teachers can encourage them to make business cards for themselves, give it around in the rest of the staff room or the classroom, and basically it is to change the narrative and say that, hey, if you have a business, if you have a startup, we're really, really proud of you in every way. And some of the teachers that really did it very successfully for me, they ordered cupcakes from me. They asked me, hey, can you teach me how to make this? They had no reason to, but they said, Meghna, you're baking so nicely. Can you teach me how to make this? Can I place an order with you? Every time they would meet me in front of another group of teachers, they would introduce me as a person who bakes and has a business. So those things really worked. And if everyone can do that, nothing like it.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak about entrepreneurship, how it should be taught at a college level. So I've always believed that entrepreneurship is quite hands-on. It's about getting your hands dirty, and that is the best way to teach it. Of course, we have the theory, but then we have to ask ourselves, do we follow the gold standard? Are we using resources like Peter Thiel's 0 to 1, Anderson Horowitz, the hard things about hard things, right? These are some of the books which are like gold standard and are kind of used across Silicon Valley and top Ivy League institutions. So I feel our students should have access to these resources. But beyond that, I think it's about starting up, and what the college can do initially is have an LLP, which is just used by students to tinker with their ideas, to bring ideas to life, right? So that's one. And I think honestly it's become so easy right now to kind of launch a tech startup, to do something in tech, right? Back in the day you'd need to know coding, but with the entire Gen AI wave, the Gen AI revolution, you just need to kind of put some prompts and your entire website, your entire app is made from end to end, right? From scratch and in minutes, right? So you have technologies like lovable.dev, and honestly something that is going to differentiate Christ from other colleges is how we perceive new tech. Do we resist or do we adopt, right? And this is that moment, right? So we could say, yeah, we're not sure where this goes, and let's just wait on the sidelines and see what happens. But we have nothing to lose, right? Think about a 21-year-old kid. They have nothing to lose, right? And we are in a day and age where entrepreneurship is pretty cool. So if they are given the right guidance, and if they happen to start, who knows, a couple of businesses may click, a couple of startups may click, or it may be the beginning, it may lay the foundation for something big. And that is what you want from a college, right? I think one structured way to kind of go about things is through boot camps, 7-day, 30-day, 90-day. Of course, we follow CIAs, we follow the semester system. So there has to be some structure, and a bootcamp would provide that, right? You can split, say, a 30-day bootcamp into 3 to 4 parts: idea, team, execution, MVP, monetization, depending on how much time we have, and that is what precisely needs to be done. Ever since I was in college, during my time as well, I was the biggest advocate of cross-departmental collaborations, right? So I still understand that there may be a need for different folks with different skills to come together, right? And that's how you have the best startups, when co-founders can complement each other. And what if we could have technical people placed with non-technical people, right? You have BCom honors kids working with MCA grads, MCA students, or with BCA students, right? And I think that should unleash something. So I don't know how the logistics would work out. I know it could be quite difficult, but I think if you end up pulling that off, it's something special, right? That could lay the foundation to something huge. And I think in this day and age, one more thing that needs to be taught in entrepreneurship is understanding venture capital, because I think when I say entrepreneurship, most people associate it with tech. Of course, you have the small businesses, which are supremely important, but also the flavor of the day is tech businesses. And kids need to understand how venture capital works, how term sheets work, how you're going to pitch to a VC, how you're going to make a pitch deck. We don't write business plans now. We don't write 20-page business plans. I think that's still being taught at college. We don't see anything more than 10 slides. I think a good template is Y Combinator's template for Series A, or Sequoia's template for raising seed round, right? 10 slides and you're done. You can convey the message. You don't need a 40-page B plan. So I think this is another thing. And I understand that not everybody will be able to start up. Not everyone wants to start up. Not everyone wants to start up until they have a very good idea. People will be on the fence. but people want to experience startup in some way or form. And the best way to do that is to work at a startup, right? Christ University is it's located in one of the best places in Bangalore, right? Koramangala is a stone's throw away. You have all the startups of the world in Koramangala. So if we could tie up with startups for internships, right, I think that should be the best way. If we could have an assessment, if we could have 3 months of internship that is compulsory at a startup, I think that's going to make a lot of difference, right? In the way we think, in the way we perceive things, that how we're going to see placements, a lot is going to change, right? So these are my inputs. I'm sorry again, I've extended my time, but yeah, wishing everybody all the best. I'm here if there's any help required on the venture capital front, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you all soon.
Hello everyone, I'm a 2014 BCom graduate from Christ University, and I had the opportunity to come back to the university to pursue my masters in entrepreneurship, and I passed out in 2020, and we were a COVID batch and it had experiences and learnings of its own. A little bit about my background. I started with EY as a US tax analyst, and then I joined the startup ecosystem, worked for an accelerator called Brigatory in the PropTech space, where we helped startups scale in this space. And in the meantime, I also built a passion project called Evora, which was into artistic aromatherapy candles. And I volunteered and worked for an organization called Head Start Network Foundation, which I would encourage all of you to go volunteer for if you're building in the entrepreneurship space. And today I work for a venture capital firm called Blue Ventures, where I help our early stage portfolios raise capital, their next round of funding. I would say we've come a long way from entrepreneurship being just a subject to it becoming a full-fledged course that itself tells us the kind of opportunities that are around and the kind of era that we are building in. I would say if you have chosen to become an entrepreneur, it's more of a mindset. And from day one, think of yourself as an entrepreneur, as a founder who is here to build something. You're not here for placements, you're here to build something and provide opportunities and create jobs. That should be the mindset from day one. If I have to put it in a nutshell, I would say it's a combination of classroom learning and experiences, more of experiences. Be out there, hustle, learn, observe. There are million startup events happening in Bangalore. You're in a place like Bangalore, there is probably 3 events happening in 3 different corners of the city every day. Try and identify how to get into these events. Network in the startup ecosystem. Network is your biggest strength. Meet as many people as possible, observe, understand what's the pulse out there, understand the kind of solutions that are needed. If you identify a great solution, understand the kind of people who are building on it, or the kind of people who would love to understand what you're building. Networking is primary and key. Also try and get as many guest lectures from the real world. Try getting venture capitalists who can come and teach you about fundraising. Try getting founders who can come and teach you about failure and also how they overcame failure. Because there's technically nothing called failure if you don't choose to stop. You fail the day you choose to stop. It's the matter of power of compounding. If you just continue to build no matter how hard it is, you will probably, when you look back, see a lot more success from the day you just started. So continue to build. Learn from real people. In your first semester, probably go try and get an internship in founder's office. There's nothing like learning from observing. Understand how a founder drives through their day. How do they tackle challenges? What do they do when they run out of money? Sometimes you don't have money to pay salaries. How do they learn to get businesses? How do they just get on a customer call and try and convince them to see their product, even try and convince them to come and try their product. Understand what do they do to deal with challenges every day. Prioritizing. You can't do everything every day, and being a founder is extremely difficult. So how do you prioritize and navigate? How do you keep yourself motivated? So try and intern in a startup. If you can get a founder's office role, and there's nothing like it. and build something. Build something because you're here to build, right? Form groups of 3. Of course, you can do startups individually as well, but you always scale better when you have folks dedicated on different functions. Have somebody focused on product, have someone focused on business and customer support, have someone just focused on finances, so that you all have your key focus areas, and by the end of your course you should have something solid you can present and take it forward. Try if the university gives an opportunity to just start crowdfunding within the university. See what that experience is like, right? You're a student and you can create opportunities for yourself. So probably raise funding for the course, and by the end of the course the top 3 ideas get funded. So think of yourself as a founder who is here to create opportunities from day one. That is what I would say, rather than looking at yourself as who is here to just learn. This is more and beyond classroom learning, and that's the idea and the attitude you should come with. And wishing you all the luck. You're in a great place. Try and leverage it. And one more thing I would like to leave you with is, once you're into the startup ecosystem, it's also about paying it forward, because there are a lot of great minds out there who are here to build and also help people build. It's a great place to be, and if you've chosen to be a founder, I'm wishing you all the very best. You'll need a lot of strength, courage and support, but it's an amazing and exciting journey. Just remember not to give up, and not to give up means just not stopping. And if you don't stop, there's nothing called failure. Good luck.
Hello everyone, a quick introduction about myself. I am Mehvesh Ali. I graduated from Christ University in the year 2016, and I'm the founder of Fakira Events, which is into event management, and Fakira's Kitchen, which is a cloud kitchen. So the question here is how to incorporate and practice entrepreneurship in classrooms and beyond classrooms. So what I feel is, starting with how to start a company and how to figure out the registration. If the colleges, the universities are teaching students to actually know how much each procedure costs, that is something we are not usually taught in our classrooms, and which I wasn't taught personally. So we all have this idea of having a company, but how to actually start it is a process. So if colleges can incorporate this in their books or subjects, or even like for a class, like for an activity, if they can inculcate this, I think that is going to be a big help for the students to learn how to actually register themselves as sole proprietorship or LLP, limited liability partnership, or private limited. So the benefits and the pros and cons of having which sort of a company. What you can inculcate is how to create a pitch deck, which is actually very helpful. Also in classroom activities could be creating your own company with virtual apps. I believe there are a couple of applications on which students can just create their own company with 5 to 6 employees, and the budgeting and the structure of the company, what kind of company. I think that is going to be very, very interesting and very helpful as well for the students. Also, I believe that it's very important for students these days to learn more about stocks and stock market and what's happening in and around the world with regards to politics as well, because with all the changes that's happening, be it India, be it US, it just affects the business as well. So before they start their own companies and get into the real world, if they're aware of these points, I think that is going to be very, very beneficial for them as well, because I don't think so during my time I was taught about stocks or mutual funds. So how to invest that money or refinance, that is going to be really, really beneficial for anybody who's going to be a budding entrepreneur. I feel beyond classroom experiences are the most effective ones, because that is when you get the leader out of yourself, and that is how you learn how to run a business in the actual world. So if the university, if the colleges are taken to these startups, these early startups, and they can see the kind of work the startups are doing, I'm sure that the universities are already giving students pretty amazing internships and how they can explore their talents. If the colleges are taking the students for events, for networking, once students learn how to talk and how to network with bigger companies is when they actually become skilled. That is what I learned later on in life, is how to get funding from them. If the colleges can also have pop-up events where they can be like group of students who can come up with their own businesses, and the colleges can support them to inculcate those businesses. For example, if it's a cake shop, so how much ingredients and how much money was spent in creating one piece of cake and how much they're selling for. So that is how they get to know the profit margin, the labor that is used, the kind of marketing the students would be doing, like the pamphlets or the social media if need be. It is going to be very helpful, because in the outer world, it is the person who's talking about the businesses. It's knowing how to sell it, be it a service industry or goods or products for that matter. So I believe these are the few things that could be practiced in classroom and beyond classroom. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Krishna Singhal, an interior designer and co-founder of Interioverse. A little bit about myself. I completed my BCom regulars from Christ University back in 2015. Post that, I enrolled myself into an interior designing institute and got my diploma in interior architecture. And I have worked with some of the top architecture and interior designing companies in Bangalore. In 2019, I decided to venture into freelancing, where I used to just design and outsource the execution part of it. And in 2020, I decided to open up my own design studio by name House of Singhal. Again, after running it successfully for 3 years, I follow the same model. I used to give the designs and outsource the execution part of it. So after running it successfully for 3 years, I got an opportunity to be a co-founder of Interioverse. And after joining Interioverse, I got the true taste of what entrepreneurship is. And the first thing is it is a mindset. It is not a 9-to-5 job. It is not like Monday to Saturday thing. It is a full-time commitment. You need to have a problem-solving mindset, and you need to show up every day, no matter how tough the situation gets. You make mistakes, you learn from them, you come back, you show up, you continue to build. That's what you do as an entrepreneur. And a few key points that I would like to mention, the things or the skills you need to have as an entrepreneur is you need to be a risk taker. You need to have a never quitting mindset. You need to show up every day. You cannot, even if you make a mistake, you cannot run away from it. You need to own it and figure out a solution for it. So you need to have a problem solving mindset. You need to be a risk taker. You need to be, most importantly, you need to be a strong decision maker. And apart from all this, I mean, you get to learn so much about entrepreneurship in theory, but you get the true taste of it only when you jump into it. So in universities, I think what things you can take on or start from your early days that could help you in your entrepreneurial journey is you could probably start with networking. So there are many networking events and startup meetups happening around the city every day almost. You could attend them and you'll realize that there are plenty of other people like you probably who just have an idea or who have a certain skill needed for building a startup, but they don't have everything else that is needed to build a team. So you'll end up meeting more people just like you who are looking for other co-founders as well, or somebody's looking for investments, or you'll end up meeting founders who will guide you to becoming a better entrepreneur. I mean, they have already made the mistakes and learn from them, so you won't have to repeat them. They're ready to guide you. So learn from them, go for networking events. You could, there are people who want to become an entrepreneur who don't have an idea, and then there are people who have an idea but don't know how to execute it. So meet people, find out what actually works in the market and what could help you reach further. And networking is one of the most important things as a business owner. And you could join startups for internships, work closely with founders and learn about the real life problems, and basically shadow founders. Learn from someone who has already built a business from scratch. University could also conduct workshops to teach practical knowledge of how to set up a business. So students know, they have some idea about a startup, but they don't know how to build a company, how to start a company from scratch. There are so many legal things involved in it. So probably some workshop to help around that, because when we started Interiorverse, we had basic knowledge of these things, but it took a long time. There were too many legal procedures involved in registering the company. So some knowledge on that could help you a long way. And another thing that could be included, also Christ University has an incubation center now. So I would highly suggest students to make use of those incubation centers. We are also associated with a lot of founders agencies and incubation centers, and they helped us a lot. Like they connected us with the right people needed at the time to set up a business and to get help with anything we needed at the time. So these incubation centers help you a lot with these things, maybe for accounts or finance related issues, for your funding related things. They'll let you know about the new grants that or government schemes that come up. So we are also funded by the government, and we were able to get that funding with the help of our incubation center. So these things help you a lot. So do not hesitate to ask for help ever. Just stay connected with the right people who will help you through your journey. That's it.